Welcome to You're Not Alone, the podcast that brings you real stories of strength, hope, and resilience. Our guests are real people just like you who have faced losses, anxieties, and life obstacles but emerged stronger. Today's guest is Mary Beth, who opens up about the heartbreaking loss of both a dear friend to cancer and a beloved family member. In the midst of grief, she found the courage to write a chapter in a collective book, a powerful tribute to love, loss, and resilience. This episode is a reminder that even in the darkest season, our stories can light the way for someone else. My name is Victoria Vita. I'm a mindset mentor, Reiki master, and a sound healer. I'm also the CEO and founder of Self-Awesomeness and the host of this podcast. And today's guest is Mary Beth Cowardin, who opens up about the heartbreaking loss of both of a dear friend to cancer and beloved family member. In the midst of grief, she found the courage to write a chapter in a collective book, a powerful tribute to love, loss, and resilience. This episode is a reminder that even in the darkest seasons, our stories can light the way for someone else. Mary Beth, thank you for being here again today.
Thank you for having me again.
Sure. Can you please take us back to the time when you first began experiencing this season of loss? Let's put it this way. Maybe when you heard about your friend's cancer. So can you please take us back there and how you felt?
Well, my best friend got diagnosed about 8 years ago initially with ocular melanoma, and she was successfully treated, and that was wonderful. And got to the 5-year mark, had her annual scan, and they said everything was fine. So we thought, this is great. You've beat it. You've won your battle. And I remember her telling me that at the doctor's appointment, she asked if she could keep doing the scans every 6 months. It wasn't required, but she just felt like she wanted to keep doing it. And the doctors were like, well, sure, if your insurance covers it, great. They checked it all out, and she kept going every 6 months. And then it happened that at the 6.5-year mark, she went for one of the 6-month scans. And unfortunately, they found she had some cancer had returned into her liver. I think she was told there was a chance that would happen the first time around, but when you've beat it, you really think you've beat it, right? And
yes,
so it's really hard when you get that diagnosis again. And, and as someone's friend, I'm sure many of your listeners have experienced something like this, or know a friend or a loved one who's had cancer or some other type of illness. You really just want to do whatever you can to help. And sometimes it doesn't feel like you can do very much.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So, in the course of that time that she was diagnosed and, learn more about her situation, which was a very rare diagnosis and one with a very low percentage chance of survival, you just tried to be the best friend you could. And I was very blessed to have another friend of mine who I cycle with and is also someone I call a cancer warrior, who's involved with a foundation whose mission is to gift women who are facing cancer with some joy in their life. And happened to gift me and my friend an afternoon at a spa. So we went to lunch, then we went and had facials and mani-pedis, which was all lovely. And who doesn't like to be pampered, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that was quite nice. But really what was so special about that afternoon was my friend and I just sat and talked for hours. I mean, the time just went by, and before we knew it, hours had gone by, and just talked about those things you don't really usually talk about. Shared a lot with me about what she'd been going through, and the fact that she had her conversation with the man upstairs, and if she made it through this, what she was going to do, and some of those things. And in the course of that conversation, I remembered that I had seen an opportunity to go to this special yoga session out in the country in this geode dome. It looked really cool. It's this big dome, and it's out in the woods. And I said, do you want to go? And because she had been telling me some of the healing practices she was trying to use, Reiki was one of them, and meditation. And her goal at that point was really to eliminate all stress from her life.
Yes.
And try to reduce that as much as possible. And that she would do yoga and different things. I will share, I'm not a yogi. I've never really gravitated to that, but I just saw this opportunity to spend some more time together. And I said, do you want to go? And she paused. And I know she paused because you never know what the next day is going to bring for you.
Correct.
And I said, let me just sign us up. If it works out to go, great. And if it doesn't, no problem. So I did sign us up. And as that turned out, so the event was on a Saturday. The Thursday before, she was admitted to the hospital and kept there through the weekend. So she texted me. She's like, oh no, they're sending me to the hospital. They think this is wrong and so forth. And so I can't go. I said, I'm so sorry. I think we went and visited her the next day. And so I ended up dragging my husband along. I figured, well, he really likes yoga, so he can go and enjoy the yoga. And I'll just sit there and enjoy the experience and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So we did that. And it was at the end of this yoga retreat that the instructor performed a sound bath. And I had never experienced one before. And I just loved it. I was just blown away by the experience, thought it was amazing. And even went up to the instructor at the end, who was someone I only knew through friends on Facebook. I'd actually never met her. She friended me. I remember getting the friend request and even thinking, I don't know this person. Should I really accept this friend request? But then I looked and she knew a lot of people I knew. And I said, well, if she knows all these same people, she must be pretty cool. And I went up to her at the end and just introduced myself and just thanked her for such an amazing experience. And also kind of explained, why I had initially signed up and what had happened. And there's an event here where we live where it's a cycling event held every summer to raise money for cancer research. And she participated in that. And it happened to also be funds that went to the same cancer hospital where my friend was. So she was very moved by that fact and offered to gift another yoga experience, which unfortunately never came to be, but was quite kind of her to do. And all of that experience, so that happened in March. Unfortunately, my friend passed in July.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. And after that all happened, I just started to think about the conversation she and I had at the spa that day. And I just thought, how can I try to live some of the things she wanted to do had she been able to win her battle again? And so I ended up buying a set of sound bowls and had looked into getting trained. So the woman who had put the experience on in the geode shared where she had got trained, and I looked up some different places. And so I ended up going through the courses. And then I guess a year ago, this past April, got certified at the master sound healing level at a retreat in Sedona, Arizona, which was fantastic.
Oh, no, I'm sure it was fantastic. Yeah. I couldn't go
to Sedona. What a place that is. It's so beautiful, and just the spirits that exist in that area, and the ability for one to get in touch with yourself is just so special. Not quite like anywhere else I've ever been.
Sedona is a special place. I recommend to everybody just to go there. If you need to be present and reconnect with yourself, this is the place to be.
It totally is. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. So I started learning, and then, I work full time at a more, a 9-to-5 corporate type job. So I do this sort of on the side. And, my goal for this year is to help 10 people, to have 10 people experience it. We've turned our basement into a bit of a studio, and I've connected with a few studios around town that will allow me to use the space for bigger groups. And and things like that. And so starting to do more and more of this for other people. And, everyone's response to it is always one of just, relaxation and amazement of
Yes.
what an incredible experience it is. So if anyone listening has never had one, I highly encourage you to seek out the opportunity. It's hard to describe even what it is. I sort of tell people it's a meditative type experience, just to relax and clear the energy out through your body and
Yes.
7 main chakras, and just a time to relax. And, for me, that first time I did that experience, what I noticed that night is I slept really well. I was not a great sleeper. I'm a woman in my 50s. I don't sleep well. And it really helped me with that. And so every time I do one, it does really help me sleep better. And I've learned some tuning fork methodology also that helps me focus when I'm, working on a project and really need to focus, or when I'm didn't have a great night's sleep, the next night I will use certain tuning forks and land over me, because I feel a difference. Some people may think that's crazy, but I honestly see the difference and know enough to know there's a lot of science behind the healing frequencies of music and the sound bowls and tuning forks and those things. And many people have amazing stories of how they've been helped and how they've gotten through chronic illnesses and other things by turning to this alternative, which is we're fortunate to have.
Yeah, I love sound healing, and my clients love it too, because I think for everybody it's different too. And for sometimes I explain it, you're just there with yourself for an hour. You don't have your phone next to you, just you're not relaxing, watching shorts and reels. You're actually being present for an hour. And usually they feel like it's been like 5 minutes when I ask them to come back to the present moment. And some people actually, one lady, she said, the first time in my life, I saw a sound. I saw that vibration. So like she saw like in colors.
Yeah.
And some were able to achieve that meditative state where they cannot achieve just being at home. So it's so powerful. And as you said, just facilitating it heals us as well. And my son is into it too. So he has been listening to sound healing since 2022. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, because his dad passed away, and that was one of the healing modalities that we use. So I used Reiki and I used sound healing, and it helped him. So, and he still asked like, "Oh, mom, can you do Reiki for me today?" Or sound healing is every night. Sound healing is on. So he is on it.
I think that's great. I think it's really amazing tool to use with children.
Yes.
If you have a child who has trouble focusing or other challenges, you might be surprised. I'd give it a try.
Yeah, and because a lot of kids are stressed out as well. Parents stressed out, kids stressed out, and they feel our energy of being stressing out. So that really helps them to relax. And the boys, I was doing sound healing for kids, and it was one boy who was like, "I've never experienced this in my life," and he was 9, I believe, that time. So like they were able to relax, really just go into that experience. But
they
I think
probably had no idea that they needed to relax until they went through it.
Yeah, their parents were nervous behind the door, like, "Oh my God." It was like, "Everything is fine. Don't worry. They're safe."
Exactly.
They're just really relaxing and they're calm. So one of my friend's boys, he just fell asleep and he went home. So I think he just felt that need to catch up on his sleep. I don't know. But I think sound healing also, as you said, helps with the grief, because those emotions, they catch us, right? So we may think we are fine, but at some point they actually they're there, and we have to go through those emotions. And I know that grief looks different for everyone. How did it show up for you, like emotionally, physically, or even spiritually?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it is different for everyone, yet there's certainly similarities. You know, for me, I'm typically a crier, to be honest. Like I see something sad on TV or the news and I cry. In this particular case, I actually didn't cry for a while. And I kept kind of wondering to myself, what's wrong with me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
something wrong. I haven't really released it. But then I think I came to discover, well, I had been releasing it through the sound bowls and meditating and different
Mm-hmm.
things. I just, found new ways to deal with those feelings. Um, but yes, every once in a while, you get choked up and the sadness kind of overcomes
Yes.
you, for sure. But being able to have time for yourself, dedicated time, whether that's every day or every week or every month, like whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's important to have that time. Because if it's not grief, you're certainly there's something that's causing stress in your life, whether it's work, whether it's a friend
Mm-hmm.
or a family member, or whatever it is. Our lists of what can cause stress can be quite long,
Anything.
right? Yeah. So it's just that's how it was for me. I also, in that time period when she passed, had a lot going on. Had a very big situation at work, big conference we were doing just days later. It went from that. Then it went to my mother had some health challenges, had a shoulder replacement, and then some other things, and ended up living with us for 8 months. So I will
Oh.
say, for me, I think I just was so busy. I probably didn't process it really well.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until probably more than a year later, and we had gotten my mom moved into a new home and all that, that I really felt the chance to just relax and
Yeah.
kind of let it all out. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're going from one thing to one thing to one thing,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's hard to take the time out that you should to deal with it. And looking back, I probably should have taken more time for myself at different
Mm-hmm.
points in time along the way. Um, but yeah, I think it's just learning what works for you. Some people journal. Sometimes I journal. Sometimes I just try to go to bed and get a good night's sleep, which, like I said, isn't always easy when you're not a great
Mm-hmm.
sleeper, but I've tried to find different ways to help me fall asleep and make sure I'm getting good rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it happened for me actually as well. That I think a little bit a year and a half after my husband passed away.
Mhm.
So it hit me. I was like, oh my goodness, this is it, right? So, and it was, I think, one of those moments when you realize the person is gone and you have to kind of live your life without that person in your life, and adjust to it, because it still was I had that feeling that he was still out there. We were separated, but I had a feeling that he was out there, he was
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
And my son, he usually the one who brings up the how he misses him.
Yeah.
So he's missing his touch. He said he
Yeah.
wants him to hug, and I think that's one of the things that we try to avoid thinking about this sort of things, because it makes us sad.
Right.
And I do talk to my son about it. So like we
Mhm.
talk about what he wants, and I hug him. He's like, "Mom, that's good, but it's not. You are not him."
Same. It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not the same. Yes. And I think learning to live our life without our, like, that person in our life can be challenging. And as you said, you can be busy, you can kind of try to occupy yourselves with other things, but at some point you will actually experience what you avoided
Right.
for quite some time, not intentionally even avoided. So,
Right, right. You sometimes it's just unconscious, almost. But I do remember my husband and I, we went on a long weekend away, and normally when we do that, we like to go hiking, we like to do things, and we literally just went away and we just didn't do anything. I think we just
mhm.
needed that, because you just kind of
Yes.
crash at a certain point. And I think that was helpful for me, because it finally gave me that moment that I've slowed down and could kind of process some
Mhm.
things, some feelings and memories and those kind of things.
Yeah. And I liked what you said about that you wanted to experience what she would do if she
Mhm.
was alive, right?
Mhm.
So, and it brought you back to sound healing. I believe like it actually finds you when you need when it needs to be found,
Yeah,
because I
yeah, I think this whole experience, it's because of her. I
Mm-hmm.
signed up for the event that day to spend time with her. Unfortunately, she couldn't go, but this experience of learning about it and continuing to experience sound baths is because of her. I think she totally
Yeah.
guided me to this,
Yes.
and whatever's to come next, because I don't know what that will be. And even writing the chapter in the book.
Yeah,
um,
I was just going to ask you about your book
yeah,
story. Yes.
yeah. So the organization that I got trained through, the woman who started that business prior to having the sound business, she was a book coach and publisher. So she knew how this worked, and she created a really successful business in sound healing and training and Reiki and other
Mm-hmm.
things, and made the opportunity available to do a collective book. So each author had the ability to contribute a chapter of their
Mm-hmm.
own story, and so it's a collective of 52 sound practitioners and their story and how they got there. And I kind of always toyed with the idea of writing a book, kind of
Mm-hmm.
but I was never really sure what to write about. And I thought, well, this is a good experience to just learn what the process is like and how does it
Yes.
work. And I think honestly, that was also a big part of what helped me deal with the grief, was being able
Mm-hmm.
to kind of sit down, reflect, think about all that had happened, how it made me feel at different points in time, and then try to articulate that through sharing my story about it.
Yeah.
So,
So was it tough? So when you were writing that story, was it tough for you, like emotionally at first?
um, it wasn't the emotions at first that were tough. It was honestly figuring out where to start. Like, where do we
Mm-hmm.
start with this story? Because, like I said, I had lost a family member, and my parents have been going through some health things. So all of these hard things were going on. And then,
Yes.
of course, the news of your friend was really like, the nail in the coffin
Mm-hmm.
almost. It was,
Yeah. Yes.
really hit you. So, someone who's my age, went to college together, all that, it just really hits you when it's your
Mm-hmm.
someone of your age. It hits you a little differently, I think. So to me, the hardest part of writing was where to start, and how much like detail,
Mm-hmm.
share, because you can share a lot of details, but we had a word count limit. So you had to
Yes.
figure out within that count of words, how can you share a compelling story that others will find interesting, that has enough detail, but I'm sorry, I'm going to stereotype here for a minute. Women can talk and share a lot of detail. So how
Yes.
do you sort through that and share the detail that makes for a compelling, interesting story, and
Mm-hmm.
not just detail for the sake of it, if you will?
Yes. Yes.
So that was probably the harder part, was where's the real beginning, and where's the end? And in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the end of the story hasn't happened, because I still have a lot of things to learn about sound healing, um, dealing with grief, because sadly going to have to deal with it again in my life. That's
Mm-hmm.
the way life works, right? It's a part of the life.
Yes.
um, but it was a very satisfying and fulfilling experience to do this. Like I said, something I'd always kind of toyed with and
Mm-hmm.
never knew how to go about it. And when the opportunity presented itself in the midst of all these things going on, I'm like, here she is. She's talking to me again, and I need to do this. And it was one of those things, like, I got the email about the opportunity and I replied right back. And I didn't think too hard about it. I think if I had thought too hard, I probably would have talked myself out of it. Because I know at one point I'm like, what did I sign up to do? Why am I doing that?
Why?
What, does anyone care about this? This isn't interesting to anybody.
It is interesting. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of. I was surprised actually by the kindness and support of friends and family and even acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
When I shared the news of the book launching earlier this year, and how many people were interested in reading it, and then then I got a little worried again, like, was that interesting, but I think everybody kind of looks for stories these days. That's a big part of communication is telling stories.
Yes, and I think telling stories, I mean, that's why I started my podcast, right? So just share stories so they would encourage people and they would encourage, support, and inspire people to do things. And as you said, like writing a book. Did you think about it? I don't know, 5 years ago, probably had this idea, but would never thought that you would do it, right?
Right. Right.
Just being open to opportunities. So
Absolutely.
what do you hope your readers take away from the chapter?
I hope they take away a sense for the fact that when life is hard, you'll get through it. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
does. We've all made it through our hardest days. We've all made it
Yes.
through. So I hope they understand that. I hope also a sense of trying new things. I don't think we'll ever be too old to try new things out and have new
Mm-hmm.
experiences and, stretch yourself. Sure, learning something new is a little uncomfortable. I can remember kind of butterflies in my stomach the first time I did a sound bath for a client, someone who wasn't a family or friend who I basically had to drag over and say, let me practice this on you.
Yes, yes.
For someone who actually compensated me for doing it. But um, again, their response to it was so positive that it's like, I need to share this.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, those are the things I hope they get. I've got the book here, but
We'll put a link to
yeah,
this book
I mean,
below this
every
episode.
story in here is one of someone overcoming something. In fact, we actually put in the preface a little bit of I guess disclaimer is the word of, you may not want to sit down and read this from cover to cover because it's very heavy at times. It's
Mm-hmm.
full of a lot of emotions, a lot of emotional stories that can be kind of hard to read in succession. So you might even start it in the middle, or you might read a
Mm-hmm.
couple of the chapters and then it sits for a month. And that's unusual for me. I'm someone who reads, books cover to cover in order, but this might be one book that's a little different, just so you don't overwhelm yourself. But
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like this approach actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to
Just
do a little different.
yeah, yeah, love it. So you wrote a book, wrote a chapter in a book. So are you planning to write a book maybe of your
No,
story?
maybe. I
Maybe.
won't rule it out. I won't rule it out, but I've thought about it. Again, I go back to, gosh, what's the story? But I will say, Victoria, you've helped me tell mine, and I appreciate that both today and when we've spoken before. And I
Thank
hope
you.
if one person finds it interesting and inspiring, then all of that effort is worth it. And I know I find a lot of comfort hearing other people's stories and knowing that people wrestle with some of the same things I wrestle with. You just don't feel quite as alone in this world when you know
Mm-hmm.
that someone else, maybe the details are different, but you usually can connect with just about everyone on some point.
Yes. Yes.
And so when you find that point of connection or something that you have in common or can share, you just don't feel as alone in this world. And that's a really nice feeling, I think.
Yes. Yeah, because you are not alone. Yes, you are not. Yeah. Thank you, Mary Beth, for another very beautiful story.
Well, you're
uh,
welcome.
can you share your legacy message for the listeners who may be going through grief right now, or what would you recommend for them to do?
Yeah, legacy message. Well,
Yes.
I kind of alluded to it, but I didn't expand a lot on it. I've been involved with this fundraising effort in Columbus, Ohio, where I live, called Pelotanya. It's a community grassroots event to raise money for cancer research at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about it, which leads to my legacy message, I guess, is take some action. Again, when you hear someone's been diagnosed with cancer or something else serious, I find I just want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something is a great outlet. And so for me, when friends and I started a group of, it's called a Peloton of cyclists, women riders, to raise money for cancer research. We started our group 16 years ago. I'm
Oh,
proud to
wow.
say we've raised over $2.5 million. I
Oh,
never
wow. That's
really started
impressive.
16 years ago that would be what would happen. So my other legacy message is be open to
Mhm.
anything and try new things, jump right in, do it with friends if you can, because that's way more fun.
Yes.
And it's always good to have someone to keep you accountable. But it's also way more fun. And it's through that experience that I met my husband. I shared that story, I think, the last time we talked, so I
Yes.
won't go too much into that. But just being open to what comes your way and try to see the good in it. Look for those silver
Yeah,
linings, because I'm a firm believer that they exist.
they
And
do.
when you follow those paths, good things will happen.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so powerful. Take an action and be open to anything. And I think this is how our life is defined, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much for being on today's episode, on today's podcast. We will share the links to connect with Mary Beth below this episode, as well as the link to the book. And if it feels that life is overwhelming with constant challenges and pressure, download my 3 favorite techniques to boost your calmness and help you to stay grounded and be present in the moment. And also, don't forget to sign up for the sound healing classes, either in Ohio or here in Virginia, DMV area, or sign up for online classes. And please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another powerful story. And remember, no matter how tough things get, you are not alone.